Can you afford the 2026 BMW M4? Well, in this video, I am going to be running multiple simulations with various trim levels. And if you stay tuned until the end of this video, I'm also going to be showing you how you can get about 8% off the MSRP on a 2025 M4. All right, let's get started here. Regarding the 2026, I have built 4 models here. The entry-level coupe with the manual transmission. When I built it, it was $86,575. The competition coupe, $89,725. The competition X-Drive. That X-Drive is going to set you back an additional $5,100. So this model, it's stickered for $94,825 the way I built it. Finally, the convertible, it is only available as a top-of-the-line competition X-Drive. So when I built that, it was $101,625. Now, the options that I selected for all of these vehicles, it's going to be the $650 metallic paint, along with the 19/20-inch forged wheels. And I also chose the regular extended merino leather. I chose the $950 carbon fiber interior trim. And regarding the packages, I chose the executive pack, the parking assistance pack, the front ventilated seats, and the M Shadow Line lights. And that's the case for all 4 trim levels. Now, pricing has gone up by $400 across the board for the coupes in 2026, and the convertible, the price has gone up by $200 compared to the 2025 convertible M4. Being that this is a top-of-the-line M product, there are no real incentivized programs either for leasing or for financing. As of right now, I'm recording this video June of 2025. Lease programs, interest rates, incentives, all of these things can change every month, but this video should still serve as a good baseline and a good guide moving forward. So regarding financing, we need to secure our own good interest rate, and some of the best new/used car interest rates I've been able to find is from PenFed. They are a credit union, and no, you don't have to be military or anything. Just put $5 into a savings account and you should automatically become a member. For a 60-month finance, the interest rate is about 4.79% on a new vehicle. Not too bad, but not great, of course, but it's the best that we can do. Regarding leasing, I do have a free leasing calculator that I can share with you, provided to you by AutoCompanion. We'll get to that in a moment. But across the board for all of these 2026 M4s, I'm actually incorporating a 2% discount off of MSRP. Is that possible? Will you be able to obtain that 2% discount? I'm not sure. You should be able to though, because if you go on a website like JD Power, you can see the invoice price of a new vehicle, and on a 2025 M4, you can see that the difference between MSRP to invoice, it's about $5,000. And on the convertible, it's about a $6,000 difference from MSRP to invoice. And invoice is apparently the price that the dealership pays for the vehicle. So if you're paying even slightly above invoice, most dealerships should be happy to sell you the vehicle at a little bit over invoice. I searched on the BMW forums on things like Bimmer Post, and their experience is kind of all over the place. This is back in 2024, but even back then, some people, they were experiencing some very stingy dealerships offering no discount, 0% off. Others were getting like 2, maybe 5% off the MSRP. These are nice cars, pretty desirable, and they do somewhat kind of hold their value rather well. Like the cheapest M4 in the country of this generation, which started in 2021 with no accidents, no lemon history, it's going for like $60K with over 50,000 miles on it. So 4-year-old car with over 50K miles, still going for 60 Gs, not bad. So if you can just get anything off of MSRP, that would be great. In this simulation, I'm going to assume 2% off since this is an all-new 2026 model year. Can you do better? Perhaps, but let's just roll with this. I'm using Pennsylvania as the example state. So for the finance, Pennsylvania charges about 6% in sales tax. When you lease in Pennsylvania, there's an additional 3% tax, so about 9% when you lease, and we're going with about $2,225 in additional fees. and we're putting no money down because the whole point of financing or leasing is to preserve our capital. So if you have perfect credit and you're able to put no money down, that's great. Not to mention, if God forbid you get into an accident and you end up totaling the vehicle, if you end up putting a large amount of money down, then you may end up losing that money in that particular situation. So to avoid that, we're going to put no money down, and we're going to assume that you know what the concept of opportunity cost is, and you have other places where you can earn more money. Anyway, on a base M4, we're looking at a finance payment of about $1,730 a month. On the competition, $1,791. On the X-Drive competition coupe, $1,891 a month. So literally $100 more per month than the non-X-Drive competition coupe counterpart. And for the most expensive convertible competition X-Drive, we're at $2,023.83 per month. Now, regarding leasing, as mentioned before, I do have a free leasing calculator that I can share with you. I will have it linked in the description box below. It is brought to you by AutoCompanion. But AutoCompanion is not just responsible for this calculator. He's also one of the largest car brokers in the United States. And it's through him that he is offering 8% off the MSRP on a 2025 M4 Coupe. More on that in a moment, but the calculator that he has to offer, it is very powerful because it shows you the interest rate of a lease, the incentives, the taxes and fees, etc. So very powerful, free tool right here. And it's imperative that you know the interest rate of a lease because this is how dealerships screw you over. This is how leasing becomes fleecing if you do not know the interest rate of the lease. Essentially, dealerships just mark up that interest rate because the average consumer has no idea how to find out about this information. So right now for a 2026 M4 lease, the interest rate is set at 5.76%. A lot of dealerships, they'll just ramp that up to like 8, 9, 10% because you don't know any better. But now you do because I'm showing you this free resource. Regardless though, 5.76%, not exactly that great for this lease. In fact, I don't really recommend leasing this vehicle unless you do one of two things. Number one, you put down something known as multiple security deposits or MSDs. This is a refundable deposit that you get back at the end of your lease. Why do you put this money down? Well, it's to reduce the interest of the lease. In some cases, almost in half. But MSDs, that can cost you like well over $10,000 in money that you have to put down. Yes, you'll get that money back, but still, it's over 10 grand that you have to part ways with for about 3 years. Sadly, AutoCompanion's calculator is unable to calculate MSDs, so we're gonna ignore that. The other thing you can do if you have lots of capital on hand and you don't care about opportunity cost is you can do something known as a one-pay lease, which will give you the same results as putting down MSDs. You're cutting the interest rate almost in half. So it's just good to know about. But doing a one-pay lease on an expensive vehicle like this, you're parting away with 40, 50K right there. But it's only under these two instances where I think this lease is worth it, when you do the one pay or when you do MSDs. Regardless though, once again, with zero money down, with the discounts I mentioned, and with Pennsylvania as being the example state, a base M4 is gonna lease out for a little over $1,500 a month. Competition M4 Coupe, $1,589. Competition X-Drive, $1,675 a month. And the convertible, it's gonna lease out for $1,790 per month. Definitely less than the finance, but once again, you're paying a lot of interest on that lease. That means you're not really making that much equity in the lease. You know how people say things like, oh, leasing is fleecing, and oh, you're just renting the car. You never owned the vehicle when you lease. All complete nonsense, complete ignorance. Even though I say this, people still comment it in the comment section below because they're either not watching the video all the way through or they simply are not able to listen properly. If you had a low interest rate lease, like what you're able to achieve with the one pace and with the MSDs, then yes, you will be creating equity in these vehicles. But when you're paying over 5% in interest, you're not really creating that much equity because you are able to buy out the vehicle at the end of your lease if you want to. You're not just getting fleeced or you're not just renting the vehicle. You actually have a lot of flexibility when you lease. Leasing is very powerful. It saves you from negative equity position. It protects you from being stuck with a vehicle if, once again, God forbid, you get into an accident and you have like a devalued vehicle on your hands. You can just turn the keys back in, with no penalty, whereas if you financed, you would be stuck with that vehicle, which you got into an accident and the body shop is unable to put the vehicle back together properly and you end up with a compromised vehicle that doesn't perform right. You can avoid all that if you just lease the vehicle. And if you check the residual amount on AutoCompanion's calculator, the buyout price on a lot of these leases, it's a little over $50,000, which is much less than even the cheapest M4 that we saw for sale on CarGurus, which was going for $60K. If you're able to buy out the lease for around $50K, that means it's totally possible that you're going to have positive equity left over at the end of the lease. So let's say at the end you're able to buy out the M4 for $50K, but the car is really worth $60,000. Instead of turning the keys back in, you can actually just take the vehicle to CarMax or to another BMW dealership, get the vehicle appraised, and if they're willing to buy it out for $60K, that means you'll make about $10,000 in positive equity. You'll get a check for $10K. If you're able to buy out the vehicle at the end for $50K and you're able to sell it for $60, that's another powerful reason to lease, because not only is it saving you from negative equity, if you end up with positive equity, you don't have to turn the keys back in. You can actually sell the vehicle and get a positive equity check back to you, which can lower the cost of your lease. Even still, this lease is still pretty expensive. Even if that were to happen. Once again, it's just really good to know about. And if you're finding value with this content, make sure to like and subscribe as well. Anyway, before we can identify how much income we need to make in order to afford this vehicle, we should refer to a Kelley Blue Book article, which states that your total monthly car payment, including the insurance and the fuel, should equate to about 10 to 20% of your net monthly take-home pay. When I did a quick Google search, the Google AI, it spat out some crazy insurance numbers, like over $4,000 per year to insure a new M4. When I checked the forums, people were paying way less in insurance than that. They were paying nowhere near $400 a month. They were paying more in the lines of $150 a month to $250 a month. There was an individual in California paying like $2,500 a month, so a little over $200. So I actually just ended up going with $200 a month for the insurance on a new M4. Insurance is going to vary drastically depending on your age, your location, etc. Anyway, the Google AI spat out about $310 a month for the monthly fuel cost on a M4. That makes sense. I'm gonna roll with $300 a month because some people genuinely drive way too much. Others drive really aggressively, getting rather poor fuel economy, worse than what the numbers would suggest, and these vehicles do require premium fuel. So I'll go with a high estimate of $300 a month for the fuel, not to mention some people might not have access to a Costco or a Sam's Club to get the cheaper fuel costs. And certain people living in certain states, they might actually have this annual perpetual property tax that they have to pay for their vehicles. So I like to overestimate the fuel cost to make up for any random expenses like that. So about $500 a month for insurance and fuel. So add that to the total lease cost and to the total finance cost. That means we're paying over 2 G's a month for both the finance and for the lease on pretty much all of these trim levels. On the high end with the convertible model, we're paying about $2,300 to lease the vehicle with insurance and fuel, and over $2,500 a month for the finance on that convertible with insurance and fuel. That means on average, to afford the BMW M4, whether you lease or finance, you should be bringing in a total net monthly income between $10,000 to over $20,000 per month. Yeah, and if you're financing, you should be bringing in, over $11,000 to over $22,000 per month in net monthly income. On the high end, for that competition X-Drive convertible, you got to be bringing in over $12,000 to over $25,000 per month. Not super surprising, as these are not cheap vehicles by any means. Lower interest rates would definitely help for both the finance and for the lease. And of course, some more manufacturer incentives, that would certainly help as well. When you go on AutoCompanion's free leasing calculator, it will show you the incentives that you can qualify for. If you already have a BMW in your household, you can get like a $500 loyalty lease credit. Not a big help, but I just thought I would mention it. Now, I did say that if you purchase from AutoCompanion a 2025 M4, you can save about 8% off the MSRP. I believe that's only going to apply for the high trim level vehicles like the Competition X-Drive Coupe and the convertible model, which naturally comes as a Competition X-Drive. I believe these are the only trim levels where the 8% off applies to. I don't think you can get that 8% off on the regular base M4 with the manual transmission. Because for example, on the M2, AutoCompanion is offering about 2% off the MSRP, so not a big discount there. Regardless though, I did run some numbers with that 8% discount to see where we end up at. I used the same 2026 MSRP with 8% off. You're paying $87,239. The lease payment, even though it's a 2025, the interest rate of the lease is exactly the same, but due to that high discount, your lease payment drops to $1,537 per month, and the finance payment at that same 60 months, no money down, 4.79%, we're at $1,777 per month. That means with this 8% discount on a well-equipped Competition X-Drive Coupe, you're pretty much getting it for the same numbers as a base 2026 M4. Not bad, that's pretty decent value. You still gotta be bringing in over $10,000 to $20,000 a month in order to afford it, even at 8% off the MSRP. You can also apply these numbers roughly to a well-equipped C8 Corvette Stingray as well. And of course, BMW's own M3, which on average, it's only like a couple $1,000s cheaper than the M4. Regardless though, if you are truly interested in buying from AutoCompanion, keep in mind he's located in the Washington, D.C./California areas. He does offer nationwide shipping, but shipping is something you have to pay extra for. He also charges a broker fee to access his deal. He did say that if you go on his website and you fill out an inquiry form and you mention my channel, he did say that if you go on his website and you fill out an inquiry form and you mention my channel, Meyn Motor Group, he did say that he'll take some money off of his broker fee. I appreciate him doing that for my audience, but the fee and also potential shipping, that is certainly going to eat into your discount for sure. So it's just something to think about, but definitely a very good deal. You don't have to put up with any of the dealership manipulation games. That's the other benefit of working with a car broker like AutoCompanion. You don't have to worry about getting screwed over by the dealership, paying any junk fees, right? Like nitrogen fees, tint fees. There's no shenanigans that you have to worry about. It's just a clean, simple process. That saves you time as well, because emailing and going back and forth with these dealerships, definitely a time-consuming process for sure. But if you found value with this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts below in the comment section. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.